You're watching QTV broadcasting from the Gambia, and this is the news with me, Mariatou Sidibe. Coming up in our headlines, the Gambia commemorates the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. Finance Minister Mamburi Njai urges stakeholders to work together for the successful implementation of the National Development Plan. Tourism Minister dishes out cash to different cultural groups in a bid to promote and preserve diverse cultures. And Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital received an ambulance from the Banjul City Council to help ease patients' transportation. Those are our top stories, and now the news in detail. The Gambia on Sunday commemorated the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. The event was marked with a series of activities at the Makati Square in Banjul. Sergio Brito tells us more.
Commemorated every year on November 11th to mark the armistice signed between the allies of World War I and Germany, the Gambia joined other countries to reflect and pay homage to all war veterans who participated in all wars throughout the world, most especially in World War I and II. The First World War had brought about the mobilization of 70 million people and left between 9 and 13 million dead, perhaps as many as 1/3 with no graves. So this day is a day to acknowledge the courage and sacrifices of all those who served humanity, and for us to acknowledge our responsibility to work for the peace they fought hard to achieve. This year's commemoration was marked with a military parade at the Makati Square, observation of prayer, and a 2-minute silence. The parade was followed with a visit to the Fajara War Cemetery, where wreaths were laid.
And whilst we remember, we should also celebrate our coming together in the spirit of reconciliation, unity, and shared desire to protect and preserve peace for this generation and the generations to come. However, as we stand here under the heat of the West African sun, I want to pay a special tribute to the soldiers of West Africa whose pivotal role, bravery, and courage deserve the highest recognition.
Corporal Keita is one of the surviving veterans. He enlisted in the Royal West African Frontier in 1942 and was redeployed to Burma in 1943 before returning in 1946. Corporal Keita was privileged to attend the Victory Parade in London. He is decorated with Burma Star, Victory Medal, amongst others. When asked about his recollection of the war, he described them as nothing but painful. Whilst countries like the Gambia commemorate this day, people still question the amount of help government gives to the surviving veterans. Pamudu Fall is the Secretary General of the Veterans Association, and this is what he has to say.
We expect them to help the veterans, give them assistance, give them medical, pay their medical bills, take care of them anyway. They should be taken care of. Some of them are old and frail. Some of them are in bed. They cannot come here.
Meanwhile, the UK has announced a commitment to providing additional support to Commonwealth veterans all around the world. QTV News, I am Sergio Brito.
Trust Africa Foundation, in partnership with the Netherlands Embassy, based in Dakar, Senegal, on Monday organized a 5-day training for media practitioners on international criminal justice and transitional justice at a local hotel in Kololi. Omar P. Jallo was there, and he now reports.
The 5-day media gathering is organized to strengthen the capacities of journalists around issues of transitional justice. It will also enable them report and gather public debate on the topic, and as well be more victim-centered and victim-conscious. The training is organized as a result of the successes and lessons learned at the Foundation's first training recently held in Dakar, Senegal, which focuses on international criminal justice for Francophone West African countries. In his opening statement, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Gambia, Abubakar Bah Tambadou, said the media can be a tool for progress or a tool for propaganda, but was quick to say the training will make participating journalists a tool for progress and not a tool for propaganda.
In fact, it is worthy to note that in almost every major prosecution of international crimes, the information uncovered by investigative journalists has helped document historical abuses, which in turn has served as a reliable resource during investigations. In both contexts, however, journalists play a primordial role of ensuring accountability through reporting on transitional justice initiatives and closely following up to ensure adherence to procedure. In this role, the media takes on greater responsibility as the public instinctively turns to it for clarification, at times even for direction. Transitional justice processes inevitably rely on the media to reach their goals of disseminating the truth about a dark period of a country's history. Certainly, given the central role that the media plays in disseminating information and shaping public opinion, it is inevitable that the media would also influence the public's impression of the work of transitional justice mechanisms, and particularly the work of the International Criminal Court.
Trust Africa Foundation is a Pan-African foundation based in Senegal, operating in several African countries, including Nigeria, Mali, Ivory Coast, Chad, and Zimbabwe. The foundation focuses on different areas, including agriculture, democracy, anti-corruption, international criminal justice, and transitional justice. The training in the Gambia is not only focusing on international criminal justice, but also on transitional justice. Theo Peters is the ambassador of Netherlands to Senegal.
When we organized a course last year in Dakar on the international criminal justice system, we realized we should not only do it in French. We also should do it in English. And we thought, what better place to do this than in the New Gambia, where you, since your historic changes in the beginning of last year, you have made so many steps forward in the field of protection of human rights, in the field of democracy, in the field of rule of law. So we thought this would be an excellent place to talk about the system of international criminal justice. So when we proposed this to the minister, he very quickly welcomed this initiative, and we're very happy that we're able to do this here now in Banjul, not only with Gambian journalists, but we've also invited journalists from Sierra Leone, Liberia and Ghana. I definitely hope so. The idea is that we have created with our course in Dakar a French and a Francophone blueprint for a course to be repeated, and we hope that with the course that we have created here in the Gambia now, that we can also replicate that at other places in Africa and elsewhere in the world.
Participants are drawn from Liberia, Ghana, Sierra Leone and the Gambia to talk on issues of transitional justice. The training is targeting 15 journalists, out of which 8 are from the Gambia. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, the country's main referral hospital, has received an ambulance from the Banjul City Council to help ease the transportation challenges the hospital faces. QTV's Ansumana Esonyasi spoke to the hospital's PRO, Modu Lamin Jame, on the importance of the donation.
But this is a long-standing collaboration between Ostend City in Belgium and Banjul City Link. And they have a project component under the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. They approached the Chief Medical Director some time back, and they asked us our needs. And one of the areas we said they could help was the provision of ambulance to our hospital. And today the ambulance is here, fully equipped ambulance. This, as the director mentioned before, is first of its kind in the Gambia. It's fully equipped with all equipments meant for ambulance. And now we can say Gambia had an ambulance now. Not only transportation, but it can facilitate a lot of things, patient evacuation to all facilities. It has an oxygen concentration, it has a monitor to monitor the heartbeat, the blood circulation rate and everything. So we are very much delighted for this. Well, Advitage, as you rightly know, is the main referral hospital. And based on that, we have patients all over the country. And government alone cannot do all at the same time. We are imploring on other philanthropists who can help to come and help in any way they can, because all of us are beneficiaries, directly or indirectly. So I will still urge on people to come and donate to the hospital.
Finance Minister Mamburin Njai has urged stakeholders to work together in order to ensure the successful implementation of the National Development Plan. The minister was speaking at the opening of a 2-day participatory governance workshop organized by his ministry. And Sumana Esonyasi reports.
Addressing the participants in his opening statement, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mamburin Njai, said government is resolved to the idea of making development more inclusive. However, he was quick to note that without the concerted efforts of stakeholders, actualization of the NDP objectives could be far-fetched.
The NDP mainstream the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the African Union Agenda 2063. The goal of the plan is to deliver good governance and accountability, social cohesion, transparency, and a revitalized and transformed economy for the well-being of all Gambians. To successfully achieve this desirable goal, there is need for strengthened collaboration among all stakeholders. This calls for the formulation and adoption of an integrated multi-sectoral approach through promotion of inter- and intra-sectoral synergies, as well as the participation of all stakeholders in the implementation of the plan.
For her part, the UNDP Residence Coordinator, Ms. Seraphine Wakana, said the workshop signifies government's commitment to ensure the full implementation of the NDP. While assuring UNDP's relentless support to the realization of the national blueprint targets, she said it is important for the Gambia to build on the already registered gains since the advent of the new government.
The time is now for the Gambia to move forward and implement the transformational agenda of the government to revitalize the economy, restore good governance and respect for human rights, create the enabling environment for all citizens to realize their full potential and improve their well-being.
Speaking earlier, the CEO of Tango, Mr. Usman Yabo, commended government to the Ministry of Finance for creating a platform where stakeholders can share ideas and make recommendations that will help in the successful implementation of the NDP. He said the Gambia has not enjoyed any meaningful infrastructural development since independence, saying there should be no margin for error in the implementation of the NDP. Tango, he informed, will continue to play its watchdog role without any remorse.
We are watching on behalf of the citizens of this country. This country is yearning for development. 50 years independence, no development. You cannot call one town or village in this country as your capital. You cannot go to one city or one country or one area in this country and say, this is a place where you have water, electricity, and roads. It's not there.
These 2 days convergence comprising of officials of the Ministry of Finance and stakeholders is expected to design a framework that will produce evocative outcomes, among which is the design of an outreach strategy for multi-sectoral engagement in the implementation of the SDGs, including annual citizen forum on the NDP implementation, and the development of a framework for citizen feedback on the impact of the NDP implementation. Ansumana Esonyasi for QTV News.
The Ports Management Association of West and Central Africa on Monday commenced a 5-day midterm meeting for members of its technical committee at the Caraba Beach Hotel. The meeting brought together over 80 participants from 15 countries in West and Central Africa. Omar P. Jallo attended the opening and files in this report.
The meeting of experts on technical studies and infrastructure development, maritime safety and environment protection, and the liaison officers is expected to focus on issues of common concerns to member ports. Since ports continue to serve as engine of economic growth for many countries, participants are hopeful that during the week-long meeting, experts will dilate on topical issues that will enhance sustainable operations and management of ports within the West and Central African sub-region. Delivering the opening statement, the Managing Director of the Gambia Ports Authority, Usman Jobate, said the discussions and recommendations that will ensue from this meeting will be relevant given the current realities in the world economy, such as shifts in trading patterns and acquisitions among global shipping lines and private sector participations in the provisions of ports services.
According to review of maritime transport by UNCTAD in 2018, it is realized that world seaborne trade has reached 10.7 billion metric tons in 2017, of which Africa accounts for about 9%, and it is expected to grow by 4% over the coming years. Now, this situation gives a positive outlook, where volumes across all segments are expected to grow. The fastest growth is expected in the container trade and dry bulk commodities. Now, notwithstanding these prospects, certain game changers, such as the increasing use of digitalization, the impact of the Belt and Road Initiative by PR China, and use of bigger ships should be leveraged effectively in order to maximize some of the gains that are realized in world seaborne trade.
Deputizing for the Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, the Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Ibrahim Silla, re-echoed government's commitment in creating the enabling environment and policies for effective operations of the ports of Banjul and the sub-region in general.
As part of efforts to make the Gambia Ports Authority effective, operationally efficient and robust, the government is working with the management of the Gambia Ports Authority to upgrade the authority's infrastructure and introduce cutting-edge technologies that will reduce the time spent in clearing goods at the port. Kindly allow me to highlight that the Gambia, along other founding fathers, has always been committed to the ideals of the PMAWCA since its establishment in Sierra Leone in 1972. It is in this regard that we wish to commend the PMAWCA in its drive to serve as an engine for regional cooperation among other ports within West and Central Africa, which complements the objectives of ECOWAS and the AU in the wider context of NEPAD.
Other key issues that the committees of experts are expected to reflect on are port dues and rates regulations and the adoption of differential tariff to accord incentives to attract greater volumes, thereby stabilizing the retail price of goods to customers. Omar P. Jallo, QTV News.
The community of Sinchu Alaji in Kombo North District Sunday benefited from free dental operations. The service was provided by Foundation Dental Help the Gambia, a Dutch foundation. The foundation renders free dental operations twice per year in the country, targeting a minimum of 800 patients.
Foundation Dental Help is a non-profit organization founded by two dentists, Harry Hoover and Nileke Hoover, 18 years ago. Their objective is to render free dental care to less privileged communities in the country. This 9-member delegation would spend 2 weeks helping school children, women, and old people. The team also provided relevant information on proper dental care for a healthy living and distributed quality toothbrushes. Harry Hoover said this year the foundation came with 9 volunteers whose contributions to the trip was self-funded, and the team expected to conduct operations for over 250 people in Sinchu Alaji.
We heard from a friend of us, he came here for his holidays, that there were a lot of tooth problems in the Gambia and the people had no money to pay for the help, and we said, okay, we want to come and have a look, and that was 18 years ago and we are still here.
Harry advised people to desist from consuming large amount of sugar, saying that can lead to tooth decay.
I think the children, they use too much sugar, too much sweets and too much soft drinks. You only have to take the sweets at least 3 times a day and brush good after the meal, and that's also the lack of the people forget to brush.
Usman Gay, one of the community facilitators, said the operations came at a time when many people were complaining about toothache and high cost of operations. He therefore said the Dutch dentists would not only help alleviate the pains, but also save money for the less privileged.
We have nothing to say, just to thank this team from Holland, and I want all Gambians to recognize this team, that they are always doing a very good job. Many of our people are affected one way or the other because the sweet that people are using every now and then. We have a lot of sugar in these biscuits and the like. So obviously the average Gambians, especially children and women, they are mostly affected.
For his part, the village head Alhaji Salifu Sise said he was proud to see his community chosen to benefit from such a kind gesture. He advised the community to follow the dentist's advice in keeping their teeth healthy. Fatoumata Jallo, a beneficiary, said the free treatment was a dream come true to her after suffering from toothache for almost 3 days. She said she was feeling better after undergoing the operation.
I have uprooted 3 teeth, 2 on top and 1 below, and did not feel anything. Now all I have to do is to go home and rest before eating.
The foundation has so far performed free operations on more than 8,000 people throughout the Gambia since 2001. After Sinthiou Alhaji, the team proceeded to Brikama for a similar service. The team is expected in Berending and Bakendik in the North Bank region before returning to Brikama Lower Basic School for the students.
The Constitution Review Commission continues its consultation tour with Gambians with a meeting in Badibu Kintekunda Janeya. QTV's Momodu Gajagai is part of the CRC team on tour, and as he reports, the issue of citizenship remains a concern for the people.
During his deliberation, Commissioner Yankuba Diba asked the community of Kintekunda Janeya in Badibu on their inputs on citizenship. People who have lived in the country for decades, their children born here and gone to school here all days long. Now the question is, should they be granted citizenship or not? One of the speakers said there should be a first and second class citizenship classification. Those whose parents are born in the country should be first class citizens, and the others may be considered for second class citizenship. He cited the example of the political impasse in December 2016, saying many of the people who left the country at the time probably were not citizens. Another contributor also echoed similar sentiments, but added that the classification of citizenship is necessary, especially in the case of voting rights. Second-class citizens should not vote in elections. Fabakary Toure said those whose parents are born in the country should be considered for first-class citizenship. And those whose parents are not born in the country can only be qualified to have second-class citizenship. As Alcalos, we faced a lot of challenges. People come to us to settle, and we know they are foreigners. Most of them are good neighbors. If they have children who goes to school and later hold important positions in the country, for me, I think their parents should apply for naturalization and they should be given citizenship. At least for now, there is no such thing as first and second class citizenship in the Gambia. You are either a citizen or not. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News, Kintekunda Janeya.
The Ministry of Tourism and Culture, in collaboration with the National Center for Arts and Culture, has for the first time given out financial support to cultural groups in the country. It is part of the ministry's efforts to promote and preserve the country's diverse cultures. As Ibrahima Balde reports, each of the beneficiary groups received $20,000.
The Ministry of Tourism and Culture, in collaboration with the National Center for Arts and Culture, today handed over cash amount of $20,000 each to various cultural groups in the country. At the handing over ceremony held at the Ministry of Tourism in Banjul, the donation is geared towards the promotion of culture in the Gambia. It is said to be first of its kind by the National Center for Arts and Culture and the Ministry of Tourism. It was attended by officials from the ministry and people from different regions of the Gambia that promote culture. It is believed that cultural festivals complement the tourism sector. The Minister of Tourism and Culture, Honorable Hamad Nkeba, thanked the organizers of various cultural festivals and said the strength and the power of a nation depend on its ability to narrate and preserve the past to use it as an inspiration for development. Minister Ba said all should take culture seriously, citing that many problems occurred as a result of adopted cultures, including dress codes and daily behaviors. The Ministry of Tourism and Culture is responsible for overseeing the tourism sector and ensuring government policies are carried out, while the National Center for Arts and Culture, NCAC, is a semi-autonomous responsible for the preservation, promotion and development of Gambian arts and culture. Ibrahima Balde, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin, we recap our main headlines. The Gambia on Sunday commemorated the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. The event was marked with a series of activities at the Makati Square in Banjul. Finance Minister Mambouri Njie has urged stakeholders to work together in order to ensure the successful implementation of the National Development Plan. The minister was speaking at the opening of a two-day participatory governance workshop organized by his ministry. The Ministry of Tourism and Culture, in collaboration with the National Center for Arts and Culture, has for the first time given out financial support to cultural groups in the country. It is part of the ministry's efforts to promote and preserve the country's diverse cultures. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, the country's main referral hospital, has received an ambulance from the Banjul City Council to help ease the transportation challenges the hospital faces. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news.